I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order, January 27th, 2026, at Council Chambers, the Town of St. Mary's. We are broadcasting live on the Town of St. Mary's YouTube channel. The Council for the Town of St. Mary's acknowledges with gratitude and respect that we are gathering on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, people of the Longhouse, giving thanks for all creation. I'll begin this meeting by asking for declarations of pecuniary interest, starting with Councillor Craig Mile.
None.
Councillor Edney.
None.
Councillor Luna.
None.
Councillor Lucas.
None.
Councillor Pridham.
None.
And I have none. I will seek, are there any issues or amendments with the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I will seek a motion that the January 27, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be accepted as presented. Councillor Craigmile and Councillor Luna. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Public input. Madam Clerk, do we have anything for public input tonight? Thank you. All right, we will move on to our public meeting regarding 236 Queen Street West. I will begin with my procedural comments. This public meeting is being held in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act. The purpose of tonight's public meeting is to solicit the public's comments with respect to the application for zoning bylaw amendment for 236 Queen Street West. Today's meeting is a mandatory public meeting held under the Planning Act. If you wish to be notified of the decision on this application, please contact the clerk, Jenna McCartney, at clerksoffice@town.stmarys.on.ca. I will now ask Ms. McCartney to advise how notice was given.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Allward. Notice was given by first-class mail to the owners of all subject properties within 120 meters or 400 feet. Also to those agencies as prescribed by regulation, and signage advertising tonight's meeting was posted on the subject lands. The following is a summary of agency comments received. Festival Hydro provided the following. The overhead service wire for 22 Salina Street South currently crosses a portion of the lot to the north. As such, this aerial crossing will also be present on the proposed severed lot. As part of the condition of severance, that overhead service will need to be relocated to eliminate the overhead encroachment. Alternatively, an easement to Festival Hydro can be provided for the portion of land that the overhead goes across. As well, the owner shall reach out to Festival Hydro Engineering prior to site consultation to establish which option is preferred. The Upper Thames River Conservation Authority provided the following comments. The subject lands associated with application Z04-2025 are not affected by any regulations made pursuant to Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. The UTRCA has no objections to the application, and they have no Section 28 approval requirements. At this time, no public comments have been received to date regarding this application. Thank you.
I will call upon Councillor Craigmile to advise Council of the Planning Advisory Committee's recommendation with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment application. Councillor Craigmile, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Allward. At the December 1st, 2025 meeting, the Planning Advisory Committee endorsed the application in principle and recommended that Council proceed with the statutory public meeting.
Excellent. I will call upon the town's planner to provide additional information regarding the proposed application. Mr. Stone, please.
Yes, thank you and good evening. The town has received an application, for zoning bylaw amendment for 236 Queen Street West. The property is approximately 666 square meters in size. It's located at the southwest corner of Queen Street West and Salina Street South. And this zoning application also relates to a consent to sever application that has been submitted by the owner. It hasn't been considered by the Committee of Adjustment as of yet, but will be in the future. The immediate area consists predominantly of single detached dwellings. The Perth County EMS station is located on the northwest corner of Queen and Salina. And Queen Street is considered an arterial road according to the town's official plan, while Salina Street is a local road. There's an existing single detached dwelling on the property, on the northern part of the property, and there are two additional residential units existing inside that dwelling. There's an existing driveway off of Selena Drive, and that provides off-street parking for those 3 units. So the owner is proposing to sever the property into 2 lots, as shown on the plan on the screen and also attached to my staff report. The retained lands where the existing single attached dwelling is located is approximately 443 square meters in size. Now, because Queen Street is an arterial road, and in the town's official plan has a planned right of way of 30 meters, the town will require conveyance of a road widening along the Queen Street frontage of 5 meters, and that will be a condition of the severance. And so this zoning application and the consideration of the proposal takes that into consideration when it comes to the proposed zoning. So after a 5-meter widening is taken off the Queen Street frontage, you're left with about 361 square meters. A new access driveway is proposed off of Queen Street to allow for 2 tandem parking spaces, while 2 parking spaces will be maintained along Selena. And so that'll be a total of 4 parking spaces, which meets the requirements for the 3 units on the proposed retained property. The severed portion, no road widenings required, but the severed portion would be approximately 223 square meters in size. It would have a frontage of about 15.5 meters and a depth of 14.3 meters. The applicant's proposing to build a 2-story single detached dwelling on the severed portion with a ground floor area of approximately 50 square meters. And a new driveway would be constructed along the south property line, providing 2 parking spaces for the new residents. According to the town's official plan, the property and really the entire surrounding area is designated residential. A wide range of residential types of housing forms are permitted. Some of the key objectives in the official plan and in the residential designation include encouraging intensification and new development that takes advantage of existing infrastructure like water, sewer, roads. And the official plan also encourages the creation of new housing that provides choice in terms of quality, type, location, and cost. The official plan also includes policies with respect to new development being compatible and in character with the surrounding neighborhood, and that's documented in my staff report. The current zoning of the property is residential zone 3R3, and the proposed zoning for the retained lot, so where the existing house is located, is residential zone 4R4 with special provisions. And then the proposed zoning for the severed lot is residential zone 4 with separate but site-specific zone provisions that I'll detail in a minute. So the proposed zoning where the applicant is requiring relief pertains to first of all, the retained lot. The applicant is requesting a reduction to the minimum lot area of 480 square meters and is proposing 361 square meters. They're also asking to recognize the existing lot frontage of 14.3 meters. So that's the frontage, the existing frontage off of Queen Street or along Queen Street, whereas the minimum required is 16 meters. They're requesting a minimum lot depth of 25.1 meters, whereas the minimum required is 30. A minimum front yard of 2.7 meters, whereas the minimum required is 6 meters. And it's important to note that the minimum front yard is currently met by the existing dwelling, but because of the town's requirement for a road widening, the 5-meter road widening, it would no longer meet that front yard minimum, and therefore it's being included in this zoning bylaw amendment application. The applicant is also asking for recognition of the existing interior side yard of 0.6 meters, where the minimum required is 2.4, recognizing the existing exterior side yard of 3.9 meters, where the minimum required is 6, a minimum rear yard of 3.5 meters, whereas the minimum required is 6. And then lastly, a maximum gross floor area ratio of 72%, whereas the maximum permitted is 70%. And we don't deal with the maximum GFA ratio too often, but essentially it was a provision that was put in the zoning bylaw to control massing on any individual lot. So you would take the square footage of a building and divide it by the area of the property. 70% is the maximum. With the severance of the lot, it is because the lot area is coming down, the maximum GFA ratio goes up to 72%, and that's why included in the zoning bylaw amendment application. And then the proposed zoning, again, for the severed lot, it would be a residential zone. That should actually be 4. I'm not sure why it says 2. R4 with a minimum lot area, interior lot of 223 square meters, whereas the minimum required in the R4 zone is 360. A minimum lot depth of 14.3 meters, where the minimum in the R4 is 30 meters. Minimum front yard of 3.7 meters, where the minimum required is 6. Minimum rear yard of 2.6, whereas the minimum required is 6 meters. And that's my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stone. Council will now invite the applicant and their agent to provide input on the application. I ask council to hold their questions until after the public has had an opportunity to raise questions or comments. Ms. Richards, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good evening, members of council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Aaliyah Richards, and I am a planning consultant from a London-based planning firm, Zelinka Priamo Limited. I'm pleased to be here this evening representing the property owner and proponent of this zoning bylaw amendment application. We understand that a decision may not be made this evening about this application, but we are hopeful that council will endorse staff's positive recommendation and approve this application in principle. I'd like to thank staff, particularly Mark Stone and Grant Brower, for processing this application and for their continued efforts in working with us on this proposal. This proposal is a good example of how gentle intensification can be achieved in existing built-up areas, which ultimately promotes the efficient use of land and existing infrastructure. This proposal maintains compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood character and does not pose any undue or adverse impacts on adjacent lands. The proposed development is supported by all levels of current land use planning policies, which encourage residential intensification and efficient compact development to help meet the needs of current and future residents of St. Mary's. I appreciate your time and attention this evening, and I'm available to answer any questions you might have about this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Council now invites members of the public to provide input on the application. All right, so we have none in attendance. Do we have any unread correspondence, Ms. McCartney? None. All right, are there any questions from council related to this planning application or comments received from the public? All right. Does the applicant or the agent have any final comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Excellent. I would like to thank those who participated in this meeting. When a decision is made regarding the zoning bylaw amendment application, notice will be provided as prescribed by the Planning Act, and a 20-day appeal period to the Ontario Land Tribunal would apply. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll move on now to the minutes. Is there any issues or problems with the minutes? Okay, seeing none, I will seek a recommendation that January 13th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes be approved by council. Can I get a mover for that motion? Councilor Pridham, second. Councilor Lucas, all in favor? Carried. I will seek a motion that the January 20th, 2026 Strategic Priorities Committee meeting minutes be received by council and that items from section 5 be raised for consideration. I have somebody to move that motion. Councilor Edney, Councilor Pridham, all in favor? Carried. So these, from that SPC meeting, there are two matters that will be raised with regards to employee compensation. So first, I will seek a motion that council approve the implementation of the updated salary grid as presented in HR 03-2026, report effective July 2026. If somebody move that, Counselor Luna and Counselor Pridham. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Another additional closed session matter with regards to ancillary compensation. The recommendation is that council approves the changes to vacation and sick day entitlement as proposed in HR 01-2026 staff report. Can I get a mover for that? Counselor Lucas, second. Counselor Edney. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. All right, we'll move on to correspondence, under which we have correspondence from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario regarding tailgate event permits. Would anybody like to speak to this correspondence or ask questions? Councillor Luna.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to ask the clerk, I just need clarification that if we have a declared community or cultural event, do we have to say that it is a bring your own? Or we can say no to that, can we, if this passes?
Thank you. Through Deputy Mayor Allward to Councillor Luna, a requirement is that the event has to be cultural in significance, and then they will come and present the information. We haven't written a policy at this time as to what would be considered cultural, but we would, if something were to come today, we would begin to look at the designation of municipal significant events related to special occasion permits and see where we can align it with that criteria. But without anything coming out from AGCO that specifically states what is cultural, and it's hard possibly to deny anything at this time. The town would then write the letter, which I believe in their regulation, it's left with the clerk again as our most details under AGCO, and then they would proceed with seeking their permit from AGCO.
And we would have no say in the matter, basically. Is that what I'm hearing?
There wasn't very much that was written into regulation that would allow it to stop. Correct. And they didn't define cultural as to how it could be stopped.
Interesting. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Pridham?
Thank you to the clerk as well. Does this open up more opportunities for, one-day events, that sort of thing? Is the cost for license any less, or how does it play out for the public?
Through Deputy Mayor Aldward to Councillor Pridham. So the application doesn't come to the town, it does go to AGCO. We don't seek any fee for this. We are just writing a letter of endorsement, as is the case right now for a special occasion permit. And anyone has the opportunity to come forward to do this if they're looking to invite alcohol into their event. The difference about this that we're noticing is that it does also include the opportunity for the organizer to allow bring your own. So some events are looking to profit off of the sale of alcohol, but this is more specialized in that individuals can bring their own, and an organizer doesn't have to worry about the sale of alcohol, bringing the alcohol, holding the alcohol, having staff that are fully trained in their Smart Serve training. So a new stream just to see where the market goes with this. A couple of years ago, this same government had also approved that municipalities could consider opening up public spaces such as parks with bring your own alcohol as well. So it seems to be a progress that they're making in opening up or reducing the prohibition around alcohol in public.
Yep.
So for someone like the Kinsman hosting a beer tent, people wouldn't be able to walk in with their own alcohol.
If Kinsman did not obtain a tailgate event permit, they would not be allowed to bring your own alcohol. That's correct.
All right, any further comments on that matter? All right, seeing none, I will seek recommendation that correspondence from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario regarding tailgate events permits be received. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Craigmile and Councillor Edney. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. We'll move on to staff reports with Admin 02-2026, the Administration Monthly Report. Ms. McCartney, please.
Council, Mr. Kittmer does send his regrets for this evening. So with respect to the pieces of his staff report, if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to take them back. He'll follow up by email outside of the meeting. Same thing with anything that was listed under the community outreach worker. If you have any questions, by all means, please let me know or reach out to Mr. Kittmer directly and he can follow up with you. This is the annual review that staff take to present information to council. Some of it's new, or not a lot's new to you. It's more of a year in review. So you should see some incredible stats about where every department has come from. Specifically within clerks, there were some new revenue streams that I wanted to point out this year. You've heard me countless times speaking about the marriage modernization. That is the opportunity that the town can now receive online marriage license permits. There is only a handful of municipalities across Ontario who still have that access. So there are 444 municipalities in Ontario. There are about 60 across the province that have this online access. So places like Stratford, London, Kitchener, Toronto, and other large municipalities haven't necessarily been invited to or embraced this pilot program, but it is anticipated that all municipalities will move online this year. The great news about that, a few things, there are municipalities who are already reaching out to ask how were we able to handle the influx of applications. So St. Mary's were already being asked, just how we accomplished it and any takeaways that we can offer, which is a wonderful opportunity when we can share that information. The other, yes, it was $14,000 in revenue. When I tried to figure out how much time that was, over the last year, it has been averaging about 6 to 10 full business days of nothing but marriage licenses. So in the grand scheme of things, when also our role is to sit with council, you see us a lot more for those hours, so only 6 to 10 days isn't a lot. And fortunately, there was some revenue that was generated. I don't expect to be coming back to you in 2027 to present similar numbers, but it was a great opportunity. The other benefit, not just to be one of the first in the province and to help people with moving towards online, there are individuals who never would have come to St. Mary's. And a lot of the time they were stopping in because they asked, where's the nearest? We see Tim Hortons, where else can we go? We're coming here for food. Or we do have a bit of a drive back home and we just want to stop for some food or even walk down the street, which was incredible. It was unprompted, unsolicited information that they provided. The other detail, we were able to increase the number of civil ceremonies. Not that we are in the business to conduct civil ceremonies. They are truly for individuals who are not looking to hold an elaborate event and just want to come before a municipal employee to be wed. Many of those individuals are from surrounding areas of St. Mary's and anywhere up to even outside of like London, Kitchener area. Again, the tourism aspect of it was very fortunate for St. Mary's, so I just don't think I'll be able to report the same information to you next year. One other detail, lottery licensing does take up significant amount of staff time. You will see that there was $4,500 that was generated. Really, that is peanuts compared to the amount of work that goes into reviews of eligibility applications and final reports. But the more important part of that I wanted to bring your attention to, $150,000 of lottery proceeds were generated by the incredible service organizations in St. Mary's, and that money stayed in St. Mary's and surrounding areas. So they went back to minor sports groups, they went back to events that are in St. Mary's, and there's a lot that they have done. And $150,000 is very impactful from what we've seen with other municipalities. That's it. I'm certainly open to any other questions from council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council on the admin report? Councilor Craigmile.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Jen, I had one question, and all those stats are extremely helpful and very good, and especially when you explain about the lottery and your time involved, but what goes back to the town. I think that's real important for us all to understand that. So I was just, out of curiosity, what's the current parking fine at these days?
The parking fine is $50 if an individual pays within the 7-day early payment period. If they do not pay within 7 days, it increases to $70. And maybe I'm getting ahead of you, Councillor Craig Mile, but I will share with you, I've just heard that City of Stratford has increased their fines, and they are $65 and $80. So there was a short period of time when council did approve the increase. We used to be at 25 and 40 and moved it up to 50 versus 70. And we heard from time to time it was much cheaper to get a ticket in Stratford. Fortunately, our neighbors, they've been able to succeed with taking information to council, and they are a comparative price. We do get individuals who are still frustrated that they can't park, or the biggest concern that we hear is that they feel they've parked in a certain area for years and never received a ticket, so why should they get it now? If you're hearing those statements, if you need any key messaging, please let me know, because we are well versed in the clerk's department with sharing information back to the public.
Excellent. Continue, Councillor.
And thanks for that, Jen. And I had one other question. When you give us all those stats, one of the things that I thought of right away with all these stats was, so I don't need anything right now, but maybe in the future, I was wondering what our the number of EV chargers we had in the electrical cost versus revenue. Are they being used or whatever?
All right, staff will take that back. Any further questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, I will seek a motion that admin 02-2026 January monthly report administration report be received. Somebody will move that motion. Councillor Edney, second. Councillor Lucas. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. We'll move on to the January monthly report for building and development. Mr. Brower, please.
Thank you, Worship, or Deputy Mayor. Sorry about that. My notes just disappeared, but I do have it back, so thank you for that. So in front of council, you'll have my monthly report, basically a year-end snapshot of what happened last year during the 2025 cycle. A lot of times council asked me how things were going as far as on the building side, planning side, and then we'll talk about facilities as well. During kind of when you take a look at what's happening on the building side, things were a little soft. Everybody saw that. Everybody knows that across the province. But when you take a look at our housing numbers, our numbers have seemed fairly consistent throughout the year, if not peaking above our 5-year trend of 42 units a year. We finished out with 57 units a year. Majority of those around high density, what we call St. Mary's high density, or generally medium density. When you take a look at the building permits were down considerably with 113. Usually 20 years ago, we were up over 200, and now that's tracked down for a number of reasons. This one here, the significance of this time, what's tracked down, is because when we issue a permit for a medium density block, is one permit, and it could be 12 units in there, where typically if it's 12 singles, you get one 12 building permits for that one single. So you're starting to see another good item that you take a look at the numbers is that accessory dwelling units. This year or last year, we issued 7 of them, which is, I'm not going to say an all-time high, but it's the highest we've ever issued. With the previous year was 6. So when you're starting to see that other types of alternative housing, you're starting to see us trend a lot more towards that way. Taking a look at the crystal ball for 26, we're starting to see that as well. Another example is the application we're seeing tonight. We're starting to see that, as Ms. Richards put it, that gentle intensification, as you see within those areas where you start to see that, where people are trying to take those lots that they have today and see how they can get some more density within that. So Some good news items, even though things are a bit low. We are still issuing building permits. We are still issuing for dwelling units. We're still getting the planning applications, stuff like that. So things are still moving, but not as consistent as they were in 22, 23. I think there are some good news stories that we're starting to hear already. People that are putting shovels in the ground that we didn't anticipate. But we think our numbers are going to track very consistent to what they did last year. On the planning side of the house, things again where I talked a little bit about it on the building side, because the two are very interrelated on how things go. But again, things are supporting that intensification. When you take a look at what we see as far as ZBAs, we did have one official plan amendment, and that's consistent. We have one every year or so, maybe two. We're up on our zoning bylaw amendments, and then our our site plan agreements were down. Part lot controls, none at all, because we don't have any townhouses that we're separating. And then 4 consents, again, to talk about intensification, and then one minor variance. Another good news item is 17 community improvement consultations. And that related to 12 different grants. Five of those 12 were reached the maximum eligible amount of either 10,000 or 8,000, depending on what stream they are. And then 4 of the 12 were located within the downtown core. Again, strengthening one of the council's strategic priorities, and then 5 were for creation of dwelling units and helping with dwelling units again. So again, some good news items. Before we jump to the facility side, as far as the planning application is kind of what we're doing with now. Consents, we did have 2 approved back in November, actually 3 approved back in November. We are dealing with the ZBA tonight. No new site plan applications. We've already had inquiries. We've had 2 soft inquiries and then 1 basically hard inquiry for the CIPs, which again, they're coming out of the gate early, which is a good sign that people are thinking about what can I do to fix up, what can I do kind of leverage some of these funds that the town's providing. One note under miscellaneous, this has been a long time coming, and it got kicked out the door today, or got released today, is that we have a attainable housing video series that hasn't been completed. This started a number of years ago with when we talked about Yes My Backyard. When you take a look at that intensification that we took a look at, that we talked about during my whole report, there is a video series that has been released. We're going to be using those for promo videos coming up, helping with the CIP, and basically developing housing within St. Mary's, again, on the intensification piece of what we already have. On the facility side, there's been a number of projects done, a bunch of projects completed. Overall, everything has come under budget. I do have a list of everything. I do have a list, and basically how much money we spent, how much work was overall that we sorry, let me regain my thoughts here. I apologize. So when you take a look at all the projects, you'll see them here all listed, basically how much money we spent, how much money that we came in under budget. Overall, we were under budget, so a very good news item there. I think there's 2 or 3 projects that were up over budget, but generally everything has been under budget based on, and we've been lucky. Sometimes it doesn't always work out like that, but I think overall the buildings are in good shape. Asset management plan is in good shape, and that's all contributes to the decisions council's making to make sure that these buildings are being fixed up and the repairs are being done as what they should. At this time, I can open up to council if they have any further questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Brower. Any questions or comments from council with regards to the building monthly report? All right, seeing none, I will seek the recommendation that DEV 01-2026 January monthly report, building and development report be received. Can I get somebody to move that? Councillor Luna, and second, Councillor Craigmile. Any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried. All right, with that, we will move on to DEV 03-2026, application for zoning bylaw amendment for 236 Queen Street West. Mr. Stone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. As you'll recall, we have moved to a 2 recommendations options approach. First, if council wants to consider making a decision on the zoning bylaw amendment this evening. While option 2 would be staff reporting back to council at a future date with recommendations on the proposed bylaw. What I would say is if council's comfortable with considering approval of these bylaw this evening, I can support this without reporting back again. I agree with the applicant that this is a form of gentle intensification. It's in a good location in proximity to Queen Street. And it will provide an additional residential unit. It meets key objectives regarding providing housing through more compact forms. It uses existing infrastructure, and the lot sizes are large enough to support single detached dwellings with amenity space, enough parking, green space for grading, and so on. And then lastly, we haven't heard any concerns from the public, either at the Planning Advisory Committee meeting or at the public meeting this evening. So I could support the immediate approval if that's the direction that council wants to go in. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions or comments from Mr. Stone? Councilor Luna?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I'm fine with this proposal, and I would recommend that council goes to the first recommendation. I would move so.
All right, any further questions or comments before we get there? Councilor Craig Mile?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mark, I did have one question, and if I can think back to your initial presentation, the coverage was 72% versus 70, but it would be below 70 if we didn't take the road widening away, correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Yes, good point.
And the report that was provided here, I agree with Councilor Luna, but the report that was provided, I found it extremely helpful because they had already envisioned what was going to be there. So all the lot lines and all, you know, everything's there. So I didn't feel like after the fact, after the, you know, the plan at site plan, you might have to go back for further adjustments. It's already right there what it is they want to do. So I agree that I see no reason to hold anything up, and let's just move on and approve it.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments before we get to the motions? All right, seeing none, I'm hearing that council is looking for immediate approval on this. So I'll put that motion on the floor that DV 03-2026, application for zoning bylaw amendment Z04 2025 for a 236 Queen Street West report be received, and that council approves the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z04-2025 for 236 Queen Street West, and that council consider enacting zoning bylaw amendment number Z162-2026. And Councilor Luna is the mover on that. Can I have a seconder? Councilor Lucas. Any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, next we'll move on to the January monthly report for community services. Ms. Ishii, please.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, I know this is a lengthy report, so I'm going to highlight a few items within the report, but I want to just speak of some of the growth that you'll notice throughout the report. I know I do speak of that each month, so I did summarize the yearly data points just so you can see where the growth is in each individual program. I just wanted to highlight, so we completed our Rec Culture and Leisure Master Plan last year. Within the plan, we had 73 recommendations. Of those 73 recommendations in 2025, we did complete 23. There are still a number of others that are currently underway that we hope to complete this year as well. And there's a number of recommendations that go into further years, but we are working through the list of them. In 2025, we have that Dine Out partnership with our community members. restaurants within the community that do help provide programs to individuals through senior services. And in 2025, we were able to put 28,000 back into our community where we purchased meals for our seniors, which has been a great local partnership that started during COVID. So this is something that we will continue as the year goes on, as the years go forward. Excuse me. Many of our fundraising endeavors, so through senior services, they do a lot of fundraising throughout the year, and you will notice there's a 3-year trend tracking very high of our fundraising dollars that we do generate within that service. So we wanted to show a 3-year trend because we're noticing how we are receiving more and more funds within that department. Our programs overall, when it comes to ICE services, room rentals, within the Pyramid Recreation Center, I know that I often explain that many of our services, many of our rentals have decreased because our internal programs have increased. So I tried to demonstrate that within the numbers and statistics that I've included within this document to just kind of demonstrate that while we might have less rentals one month, there are more internal programs that month. So that is kind of what I've tried to demonstrate within the charts within this document. From a community services facility and projects perspective, we did complete 12 new capital projects last year. Additionally, we did the pool reno, which was I guess number 13 for the year. Of the 12 capital projects though, within a $695,000 budget, 9 completed projects were completed at 21% below budget. Just we got better prices. That was how we did better in that area. The pool renovation, we were excited to finally open just before Christmas in December, and it was completed on budget. So we're still working through a few deficiencies within the project that we'll continue to work on this year, but things are operating well within the pool. Within the report, I've broken down, there are 2 different, so we see childcare within the report and the rec services. Both of these programs do offer summer camps and PA Day programs. They are separate, so you'll see different charts within the report itself that just demonstrates how many children go to each service. Keeping in mind the programs offered through childcare services are for children 6 and under. The recreation programs are for children 6 and above. So that's where those numbers and why it looks like it might look like it's duplicated within the report itself, but it is 2 separate programs. We did our second Sports Wall of Fame this year, which was another successful event. So we have 2 years under our belt. Within the next couple of months, we will be bringing back a recommendation to Council to update our terms of reference for the Sports Wall of Fame that will be going to the Rec and Leisure Advisory Council in February. So we'll be bringing that to Council in March is what our hopes are, just to update a few of the things. Now that we've had a couple of years under our belt, we just want to update our mandate and make sure that we're hitting the targets. Overall, everything else was really good. As far as the Aquatic Center, I just want to highlight that. So we did open in December. We were really concerned what our uptake would look like from a participant perspective. Knowing that we had closed for a year, we were really concerned. Were people going to come back to the pool? Was it going to take a little bit of time for us to rebuild the programs, or what was that going to look like? I'm happy to report that our programs are running at the same capacity, if not higher, in a number of programs. Swimming lessons as a good example. Believe it or not, the numbers are exactly the same as they were the previous year at this time. When it comes to public swims and evening aquafit classes, they are much higher than they were when we closed. So we haven't lost numbers in any of our programs actually, and in a couple of programs we've grown. So, and we've only been open for a short period of time. So that's been very positive, and we've had nothing but positive comments from the pool, and the grand opening was Saturday. Everything went very well there. So overall, I would say on average, we see about 200 people through our pool every day. So things are going very, very, very well. But I just wanted to update council because I knew that we were a little concerned how that would look at the end of the renovations and construction. That is a very brief summary of the report. If anybody has any questions.
Excellent. Any questions or comments for Ms. Ishii today? Councillor Craigmile.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Aller. Steph, I had one question about the early on, because that number of participants was staggering in 10,747. And you mentioned that it's from 38 unique programs. Each one of those unique programs could be 4 or 5 different classes, or, I mean, if I divide 10,700 by 38, I'm going to get 280 some, so I'm missing something.
So you are correct. It could be various programs. So it could be, trying to think of a play and learn. So it could be a play and learn afternoon program, but it could also be an evening play and learn. So if that's what you're asking, it could be similar type programs, but for different age brackets. So the numbers do look staggering, but we are attracting a lot of people for this program. And I think it's because our childcare center is so successful as well. But yes, there could be duplication in programs if that's what you were meaning by that. It could be for a different age bracket at one time where there could be 2 different programs running within the same week.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Ms. Ishii? I will say that the grand reopening of the pool was excellent to attend on Saturday. I think everybody was very excited, probably as excited as we are to have it back. So great job, and thank you very much. All right, with that, I will seek a recommendation that DCS 01-2026 January monthly report, community services report be received. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Pridham, second. Councillor Craigmile. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. All right, next we will move on to CET 03-2026, January monthly report, culture, tourism, and engagement. Ms. Coverly, please.
All right, so just like my colleagues, I have a pretty in-depth overview of everything that happened within the 3 key areas of this new department over the past the past year. And just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. So in cultural services, the museum participated in a number of outreach events and increased its partnerships. So this included participating in events with the Stratford Perth Museum's Indigenous Art Market, the Perth Children's Water Festival, the Friends of the Library, Stonetown Arts, Betty's Bookshelf, and Rotary St. Mary's. Overall, our attendance is trending the way we want it to be at the museum, but we're still just not quite where we were pre-pandemic. On the heritage front, similar to what Mr. Brower reported on with the CIP, we're seeing an increased interest in heritage property grants. So 4 grant applications were approved in 2025, with the program being oversubscribed to. I have received 1 application so far this year and anticipate 2 more coming in shortly. In tourism and economic development, the tourism marketing plan was finalized in 2025, and that really helped drive the work of this department through the year. So some highlights included partnering with RTO4 on geofencing data collection. So this is really helping them drive their decisions moving forward, as we're getting really great data on who is coming from where, specifically for our events. And staff also worked with influencers, including a local influencer, which was a recommendation coming out of the tourism marketing plan. Our events team delivered a number of wonderful events in 2025, with the Winter Lights Market being exceptionally well attended with out-of-town visitors. One of the major undertakings of the corporate communications department was completing the build out and launch of the new both Town of St. Mary's website and Discover St. Mary's website, which is our tourism website. And as is reflected in the stats, staff worked hard to maintain a proactive, engaging communication service through a couple of vacancies in this department as well. And through the Deputy Mayor, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Any questions or comments for Ms. Coverly tonight? Councillor Craigmile.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was curious when I looked at the total number of people going through the museum. That's just people going in the museum. That wouldn't count the ones where you might be doing outreach at schools and things like that, would it?
Yeah, so through the deputy mayor to Councillor Craig Mile, in the chart on page 62 of the agenda package, there is an outreach section, fourth column from the right there. So that would include all of our outreach programming.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I will seek recommendation that CET 03-2026 January monthly report, culture, tourism, and engagement be received. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Pridham, second. Councillor Edney, any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, next we'll move on to the January monthly report for finance, and I believe we have Spencer on the line. Thank you.
Good evening, through you, your worship. Similar to my colleagues, I will also keep my remarks brief and highlight some of the key points from each of the areas within the department. So beginning with accounts payable, you'll note over the past year, there's been a strong focus on converting our vendors from check payments to electronic fund transfers. This initiative was very successful, with only 20% of our payments issued by check this year, compared to 87% in the prior year. Staff are going to continue to work on this in 2026, as this helps to reduce the administrative effort and helps to reduce some costs, including lower postage expenses overall. With respect to property taxes, overall arrears at year end were approximately 1.64% of the total taxes levied. You'll note this represents a significant improvement from the prior year, which was closer to 5%. While it's difficult to eliminate arrears entirely, this level is considered reasonable, particularly given that approximately $200,000 relates to the current taxation year, so 2025 year. Staff will continue to work with residents who have overdue accounts to support the timely collection of those arrears taxes. Another key initiative I'd like to highlight is the development of an electronic tax bill, and this was in collaboration with our software provider. The intention with this is to begin collecting resident email addresses over the coming months, with a goal of issuing the final tax bill electronically in June. With respect to Service Ontario, Council will note that the number of transactions has declined year over year. We believe this is largely attributable to the ongoing tariffs affecting the automobiles and some hesitation among customers to purchase new vehicles. So we've seen a trend, especially in the latter part of the year, with fewer individuals coming in to change over ownership, dealerships with new vehicles, what have you. The department was also successful in recruiting and training additional staff member to provide coverage for the customer service coordinator position. This has improved service continuity and reduced the need for office closures due to vacation, illness, or other absences. In procurement, I'd like to note that staff have begun the process of reviewing and updating the procurement bylaw. This was enacted back in 2012, and I believe there's been very little in the way of updates. Staff have already begun the work on this, and it will continue in the coming months. The final two items I'd like to bring to Council's attention. Firstly, with respect to the 2024 audit, I'm continuing to work with our auditors to bring this to completion. I anticipate presenting audited financial statements to Council in late February or early March. And then secondly, the finance manager position was officially posted last Friday and will remain open for a 3-week posting period. Turning briefly to IT, protecting and maintaining data integrity remained a key focus throughout 2025. As outlined in the report, the town's overall device risk is currently assessed as low to medium, which speaks to the focus and commitment of town staff to mitigating risk in this area. Cybersecurity training campaigns also continued throughout the year, with a low percentage of users failing the exercises. These campaigns will continue on a quarterly basis in 2026, with increasingly sophisticated phishing simulations. Finally, since the implementation of the help desk ticketing system, staff across the organization have continued to receive timely and consistent support from the IT department. The system also allows for the creation of a knowledge repository, which helps reduce response times and improve efficiency for future service requests. I'm now happy to answer any questions council may have.
Excellent. Any questions, Councillor Edney?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Spencer, I don't mean to put you on the spot, can be answered later, but in the risk chart on page 69, we have a huge spike in the operating risk. Now, I'm very happy because I lived through, with many of my other councillors here, our nightmare, so I'm always very focused on this, but there's a huge spike in the operating system risks, but it doesn't correlate to the help desk tickets. Is there a reason we had that spike? And was staff aware of it at the time, or it's not correlating, everything kind of stays the same under the tickets, yet this spike is I mean, the device risk is up as well, but the operating system is about 100 times what it normally is.
Through your worship to Councillor Edney, I don't have the specifics around that, but that's something I can look into and report back to you through an email.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Well,
Councillor Luna.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a question about the procurement bylaw. Is there an expected date that it might come before council?
Through your worship to Councillor Luna, I don't have a date set yet. My main priority right now is kind of working through the audit, and then my focus will turn to that, especially once I get the new finance manager caught up to speed. I would suspect it'll be probably closer to June, July, if I were to estimate a timeline.
I think it's really important that we get that on the books, and thank you.
Excellent. Any further questions from Mr. Steckley? Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a comment on, and you spoke to it, I'm just wondering, the property tax arrears kind of, those numbers kind of, I don't know, there's quite a discrepancy year over year. I just wondered if there was, I would have expected, given our climate, they maybe would have been the inverse of one another there, but I just wondered if was there any insight onto why there was that significant drop?
Through your worship to Councillor Lucas, I actually did look into this. It looks like it was mostly timing based, just when those payments came in. I believe the majority of that balance was actually reduced quite a bit in early January of 25. So I would place it based on that. I just wanted to make note of it just for the very simple fact that right now St. Mary's is in a very good position relative to the industry average, if you will. So.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate that answer.
Excellent. Any further questions? All right, seeing none, I will seek a motion that FIN 03-2026 January monthly report finance report be received. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Edney, second. Councillor Craigmile. Any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried. All right, next we will jump ahead ever so gently to the January monthly report for emergency services, and we have Mr. West with us tonight.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council. Pleased to report our summary for 2025. Fire calls were up significantly again from a record year last year from 162 to 179. The biggest category that grew were fires. We're working with the team to increase public awareness. We're doing more press releases, social media bursts, campaigns on fire safety. Couple things that highlighting that we're about to do. We're going to have an ice rescue course from the Ontario Fire Marshal's office. The College of Trainers are going to come here. We're going to do ice water rescue with close partners in Stratford and Woodstock. So it'll be good to train with our area members that do ice. There's not a lot of ice teams in this area, so it's good to work with some close partners, and it's kind of a first for us. So hopefully it works well. It's all coming together very well. It's going to be at the quarry, so everything's getting in place for that. On our fire call wise, back to it, average attendance was 16, which is a good amount of firefighters to carry on the task, whether we're at multiple car accidents or fires. That's a good number to work with. We were trending rather well for the year, like we weren't going to be up significantly, pardon me. But in December came and we had 9 car accidents just because most of it would be to the weather. So it seemed like we were getting call volume under control, and then December came along and we had 28 calls in December. So we are working on a few things to reduce call volume. Whether they're going to work right away, likely not, but we've modified a few things. On the fire prevention side, we're doing a really good job getting inspections done. We're working on places, making sure we're highlighting places that haven't been inspected for quite some time. If you look at the trend in follow-ups, there's a huge jump in follow-ups. So we're basically, what that means in summary is we're writing up things that business owners have to do to be compliant. So we're following up on those requirements. So they could be blocks exit doors, not having their private hydrants tested. There'd be multiple, their exit lights burn out. So we're doing a really good job on inspecting businesses thoroughly and industry thoroughly, and making sure that deficiencies are brought up back to standard. So that will help minimize calls. That will help with their safety and our firefighters' safety by enforcing the fire code. Through the holiday season, we had 10 individuals do the CPR, AED, and defibrillator training. You'll see a big list of other training items there. It's quite extensive. We had some milestones in the fire department. Other than that, just there's a chart there, kind of a review from 2016 to where we presently are for call volume. We went down in the COVID years, just less people traveling, more people are staying home. They're not rushing out, leaving a pot on the stove. So fires came down in those couple of years, and then they started coming back up again when you get more people traveling, more people getting invited out for lunch, forgetting that they have something in the oven or a stove. So we are concerned the calls are trending upward, and we're going to continue to monitor it and try to educate the public to keep those calls under control. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Alrighty, thank you, Chief West. Any questions for the chief here tonight? Councillor Luna.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm trying to find, Chief, and I'm not seeing it, maybe it's here somewhere, but of the 179 emergency calls, how many were Perth South related? Do you know that offhand? And if not, we can we can get it another time?
I have not worked out the statistic in through December, but I believe I'll email you tomorrow, but I think it's roughly around 35%.
35%?
Yes,
Okay.
but I'll email you tomorrow with the exact
Okay.
percentage.
And if I may, there was somewhere you mentioned something about a software thing helping you with billing the province for the motor vehicle collisions on the highway. Has that been a problem collecting from the province, or are we up to date with that, or how is that working out?
Through the deputy mayor to Council Luna. So that's we just got approval. It was a long process. So I was able to put 4 incidents, load them in of Highway 7 accidents that happened in December. 4 were eligible. So I've submitted those. They only went in a few weeks ago. I don't know the exact turnaround. I'm assuming it takes months to get paid, but I have put in 4 applications for repayment to the province.
Continue.
When you say 4 were eligible, are they not all eligible if we go out to the highway?
If we go to the highway and we do not perform a service, they're not eligible.
Okay.
So we have to either extricate someone, there has to be a fire, or we have to do traffic control to be eligible to get reimbursed.
So why would you be going out if you weren't needed? Like, I'm not understanding that.
It happens all the time where we get called out, and ambulance usually will tier it. Police will get called, ambulance will be called. We'll get out there and we'll be told by the police that we're not required. Sometimes we actually get to a call and ambulance have cleared the scene, no one was injured, or the police have turned the scene and we get there and we turn around and come back.
Councillor Pridham, you have a question?
Thank you. Not really a question, just a comment. It's really nice to hear you comment on the inspections that were done and the new, the things that haven't been done for a while and going in and all the follow-ups. So just a good job for the year of the new inspector. Well done.
Yes.
Any further questions for Chief West? All right, with that, I'll seek the recommended motion that FD 01-2026 January monthly report, emergency services / fire department report be received. Is somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Pridham, second is Councillor Lucas. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, that is carried. My apologies, Council. We will jump ahead again just a little bit to the fire protection grant. That's page 87 if you need to jump further. Right. And that's Chief West again.
Hi, so this is the second year that the province has given us the opportunity of fire departments to apply for cancer grant funding. So this year we did get approved again. It's more than double what we got approved last year. So basically, what we talked about it, we submitted. Sorry, I'm going to rewind to last year. So we focused on some touch items. So we got an extra pair of gloves, balaclava, which is a very big contact for firefighters where they can get chemical exposure on the face and the chin and the neck. So we did that, and we got a decon machine. Basically to spray firefighters off, their gear off before return to the hall. This year we focused on airway and some protection again. So we put an application in for an adapter that fits on our current SCBA masks. So it's an adapter and 2 filters can attach to it for overhaul. Where we've done air monitoring, it's safe to do so, but we still want extra filtration for that. We've also put in that grant for 6 more air bottles. So we do have the benefit of having extra air. So So if we're not low on air, we can do a lot of other functions after the fire being on air. So it's a lot safer than going that second route, that backup route, which I talked about with the filters, the better filters. And lastly, we have funding in that grant for a second inner liner for the helmet. So that's another surface can touch the face. So when one of those is contaminated, just like a balaclava, it can be washed out. They can put a new one in place, and we don't have to worry about them trying to quickly wash stuff. Reusing it can be properly washed because they have a backup inner liner for their helmet. So the only financial, my report needed adjustment. The only financial implication is we're short 1% of HST. So basically, the grant looks after everything. We're going to be short $322.99.
Excellent. Any questions with regards to that for Chief West? All right. Seeing none, I will seek the recommended motion that FD02-2026 Fire Protection Grant Report be received and that Council approves an agreement with the Minister or the Solicitor General regarding fire protection funding, and that Council authorize the Fire Chief to procure the personal protective equipment as described in FD02-2026 related to this grant, up to $20,900. I have somebody to move that motion. Councillor Luna, second. Councillor Edney, any further discussion? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, so Council, we will jump back again now to page 72 for the January monthly report for Human Resources.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Alward. As soon as I could get my computer to work, we're going to jump down there. So the monthly report is focused on annual statistics that are pretty straightforward and you've seen before. It's good news that they're fairly consistent. So you'll see statistics in terms of recruitment, whether that's about recruiting or retention. So you have that. And also statistics on health and safety when it comes to team member, TM incidents. So that's staff or team member incidents, what areas they were in and what types of incidents. Also, sometimes there's a question about lost time, and that's included on one of the charts, and there was no lost time. So that's wonderful. If I was looking at the incident chart, I might ask, why the facilities incidents were so high, because that's a bit of an anomaly. So I'll just speak to that just because it's not super clear on there. It's related to the next chart, which is the incidents by type, and the majority of them are R-zone incidents. So that's related to our respect and responsibility policy. It has to do with people using our facilities and our programs behaving in a respectful and responsible manner. So the high amount that you're seeing under the facilities is often related to things such as perhaps vandalism of a washroom or something more related to physical damage of the space. So just wanted to share that as it wasn't super evident. Other than that, I'm not going to go into a lot of details in terms of the report, but I'm going to make a couple general comments, and that is that Human Resources is a bit different than the other departments presenting in that I'm not going to be telling you about events or programs necessarily. What I will say is that 2025 was a year of a lot of changes. So whether that was a new department or people changing positions, that's where Human Resources as a service steps in to provide as much support as possible. So I would say that was a big focus in 2025, as well as all the background work for the market review that actually came to came to you earlier. Well, it was part of this evening. There was a lot of work on that started in the summertime, and then the implementation will carry on into this year. So those are kind of the things that I would speak to generally, where there was a lot of effort and I think successful outcomes. Having said that, I'm happy to answer any specific questions any of you might have.
Excellent. Any questions for Ms. Knechtel tonight? Councillor Edney, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Not necessarily a question, but it's just something I feel like maybe we could reiterate publicly. I came to you with a question around Christmas time from a citizen that had asked, and then shortly after that, I was somewhere where someone made a comment that was related to that, and I was because of your information, I was able to give them that information. But the question was. Well, the comment that was made was how nice it must be to be a municipal employee to get all this time off at Christmas. And so I reached out to you and from the previous question, I asked, how does that work? Do you mind making that public for?
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you. Thank you through Deputy Mayor Alward. Thank you for that question. When staff are off during that Christmas shutdown, they actually use vacation time. So it's vacation time. It's not otherwise, just like if they were off any other time, and not all staff are actually off.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So because there's many services still running.
Mm-hmm. It's good clarification. Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Craigmile, please.
Thank you for sharing those incident, because I had circled both those that you mentioned, and I'm really happy for the explanation, because I would never have thought that. But another one that I circled was the aquatics. I mean, it was down all year. Why would we have incidents?
Yes. Through you, Deputy Mayor Alward, thank you so much for that question. I actually meant to mention that. So that has to do with incidents at the quarry, primarily related to cuts for cleaning related to the zebra mussels.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. All right, any further questions? Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Not so much a question, just a comment. I appreciated the annual statistics on postings, resignations, retirements. That I think that's pretty useful information for us to see, especially as a council, to make sure that it's not trending in one way or another. And we've had lots of discussion over that, but I think it's really helpful to see it in that chart.
Excellent. Any further questions or comments for Ms. Knechtel? Councillor Craigmile.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Alward. I wanted to comment on the exact same thing that my other councillor just said on the recruiting and resignations and retirements. I mean, to me, it seems extremely similar. So when somebody comes and tries to tell us that staff retention and difficult to get people, our numbers don't support that.
All right, anything else? All right, with that, I will seek the recommended motion that HR 04-2026 January monthly report, Human Resources report be received. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Luna, and second, Councillor Craigmile. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Last but not least, we will move on to the January monthly report for Public Works, and I believe we have Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Alward. Our monthly report is a mixture of annual statistics from operations, as well as there's quite a bit of focus on just regular operational items in there as well. We have several areas where we come to you with specific detailed annual reports for areas of our department. So maybe not as thorough as some of the other ones from an annual statistics point of view. But I wanted to just touch on a couple items from the 2025 statistics. One was related to the parks bookings. We had 64 event bookings in between Milton, Cadzo, and Solis Park. So that was good news. We're seeing that's one of the council's strategic priorities coming to fruition. So one of the first years, I think this was the first year where we had a statistic for the entire year of parks bookings. So that's good news there. And the other one was related to cemetery operations. We had 39 interment rights sold in 2025. And just wanted to bring your attention to 10 of those being sold in the new Section S. Jed thought that was important. So the rest of my comments will just revolve around sort of timely items from the public works world. One being the beautification initiative that we have for downtown. That was a partnership with BIA. So we've ordered the self-watering planter urns. So those are in now, and they will be getting pre-planted in March and at a greenhouse, so that when we get those out on the street in May, hopefully they're more full than we've seen sort of in previous years. Through that project, we've also ordered 4 pilot project tree urns. So they're quite a bit larger for bigger root base. So we haven't specifically picked out those locations yet, but we'll see some trees downtown again this summer. Yeah, we've so far, I guess in January, it could be summarized as a tough winter and a good start, I guess, to our 2026 initiatives. I'm going to speak to winter ops here shortly. But a couple other items, the bins that we purchased in 2025 for the landfill, there were some spares that were purchased to accommodate the leaf and brush drop off at the MOC. So we load those ourselves with the loader, and then through that new waste management contract, it's hauled to the landfill. We're finding a lot of efficiencies with that. It's not consuming very much of our operational time at all, so that's going really well. We've also, on the water side, because of the prolonged cold temperatures, we issued around 40 run water notices for those customers that have had history of freezing on their water services. We've had a couple issues with equipment breakdowns, our loader and one of our plow trucks, our 1-ton plow trucks. So for the loader, we've brought in a rental to accommodate while the repair is completed. And then for the 1-ton, we've switched, one of the 1-tons wasn't used for winter operations, so we've switched that back over to, and kitted it up with a plow and I believe sander. For winter operations, we've got a lot going on this week. It's been difficult. People are getting everyone's done with winter, unless you're a snowmobiler or a kid looking for a day off of school. I think the rest of us are kind of fed up with it. So we are seeing calls from people. Their snow storage isn't really plentiful anymore, so it's getting harder and harder to clear driveways. People are getting frustrated, so we are getting those calls. But with the cold snap that we've had here recently, and normally we would have time to sort of get ahead of the next snowstorm. There'd be a couple days of cleanup after a storm, and then we'd have a little bit of time to clear out cul-de-sacs, clear along narrower streets, clear along the curb line, clean up piles of snow in parking lots, things like that. We haven't had the luxury of sort of gaps in between snowstorms, even like today or this morning, and I think yesterday, where we didn't have precipitation. We got precipitation now, but we're finding with the really cold temperatures and the winds, even if you don't get precipitation, it's still, the roads are in need of treatment and plowing. So we're not getting that. We haven't had a lot of luxury in terms of time for addressing those nuisance snow piles that are sort of out and about. With the colder temperatures, the rock salt becomes less effective. In the past, we've had a treated salt that we would apply when we get down to about -20. But my next comment here, the treated salt, the company hasn't been provided any rock salt this winter, so we're not able to acquire that treated salt that works at these colder temperatures. So you're going to see more ice build up when we get to these like sub -15 temperatures. Warmed up a little bit today, so you saw a little bit of melt around when it gets to -10 or whatever. But for the most part, you're going to see more ice build up. It's more significant in rural areas. You're going to see like pretty tough drives on some of those county roads. But that is why you're not seeing bare asphalt. The other item we want to touch on was salt. There was an article in the newspaper today around it, but Compass Minerals, where we get our salt from in Goderich, seem to be prioritizing their salt distribution a little bit differently than they've done in the past. It's been, if you saw the news article, it shed a pretty nice light on it, but it's been very frustrating from a road authority perspective. We'll send trucks up and then they'll sit there all day and they'll be sent away. So we'll be waiting weeks for loads of salt to finally get approved to get them dropped off. We've managed to continue to have supply of salt in our salt shed. It's been dwindled almost down to nothing at times, but we have been able to maintain some. But you are going to see sort of a reduced concentration. So we are going to be running a little bit heavier on sand, on that sand salt mixture. So usually run 50-50. You might see it, 60-40, 70-30, that kind of thing. Right now with the cold temperatures, the salt almost doesn't work. So, you're mostly sand anyway. But once we do get a little bit warmer temperatures, the salt, hopefully the issue with the supply improves, but it's been an issue. So tomorrow morning, we're going to be doing downtown cleanup. And then Thursday morning, we're going to be doing parking lot cleanup. And then hopefully following that, we'll be doing cul-de-sacs, some of those cleanups along banks, things like that. We've been doing fire hydrant cleanup when permitted. We've had a contractor helping us out with that where possible. And we've also been dealing with contractors where snow storage on the road allowance has become an issue. We're having them drop off snow storage at our facility, and it's been sort of bailed up with the excavator. Snow storage, the snow is pretty hard to move once it sits in the pile for a bit. So we've had an excavator bailing it up to make sure we continue to have room for trucking snow out of those parking lots. The other item I want to touch on was the Ontario Thomas and Jones Street reconstruction project. Design is essentially complete. We're looking at putting the final piece of tenor together. As we were going through design, the engineer had recommendations on upsizing of 2 sections of water main that I had not accounted for in my unit rates when we were budgeting last summer. So we are anticipating that it's possible we'll see a variance on the water main related aspects of that reconstruction project. But still hoping, if we can get it out here in February, we'll get good pricing. Hopefully we see the results back to you here middle of March with a tender award. Otherwise, if council had any questions on any of the other items, I'm happy to answer those.
All right, any questions for Mr. Wolf? Councillor Luna.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First of all, Jeff, I want to say kudos to your road team. They do a great job of keeping our roads safe and clear. You just have to go a few miles down the road to see what the alternative could be. But I'm just wondering, there are some side streets where sight lines at corners are getting to be a bit of a problem. Do you make that a priority when you decide where you're going to be working next?
That's right. Thank you, Councillor Luna. Through Deputy Mayor Alward, once we have sort of a break and we don't have to meet some of those minimum maintenance standards after a snow event, and we do start prioritizing some of the areas, we do look at safety typically as our #1 priority. When we're into those cul-de-sacs, we're looking at operational items as well. So can a fire truck sort of maneuver in a cul-de-sac with the snow piles that we have? So we're usually thinking about fire response as well when we're removing that snow. But when we get into the intersection sight lines, we don't, there's, as you drive down the street, there's sightline problems sort of at the end of everybody's driveway. We don't really have the resources or capability of dealing with those. But when we get into the intersections, we do try and start with some of the busier intersections and then sort of work our way down through some of the lower class roads from there. Off the top of my head, you typically see like James and Queen, like that intersection, the boulevards get knocked back. But in terms of the lower class roads, usually they do, even though they are sort of intersection sightline issues, they don't typically get right to the top when we do switch over to snow storage removals. If somebody has a particular concern, we're happy to take a call in Public Works and we can go check it out. If it's sort of egregious where, you know, there's no way to see down until you're into the traffic, we can certainly take a look at that and prioritize it.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Craigmile?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Alward. Jeff, I had, when I was looking at your Queen Street West culvert that is complete, and I'd like to say that for the weather conditions, staff and the contractor did a great job to get it done on time because the weather just didn't really cooperate. Although I think that you mentioned about cold patching. How often in the wintertime can you do a cold patch? I mean, that everybody talks about that bump you have there.
Yes.
Is there anything before spring we'll be able to do to?
Through Deputy Mayor Alward, thank you, Councillor Craigmile. Yes, unfortunately, the contractor did a great job. The general contractor did. You know, he was working on weekends, working through snowstorms. So like sort of hats off. He was able to complete it in the scheduled time frame that we had. Unfortunately, the asphalt subcontractor, you know, left more to be desired. But in the short term, there are asphalt plants, or maybe one in Toronto where we could get hot mix. Maybe not so much right now, but when we saw some of those temperature variations where you're getting close to zero, you're sort of above and below zero. When they paved, the ground was frozen. And so we're really seeing, like, every time that we were watching the temperature go up and down, that asphalt was kind of moving all over the place. So even with like hot mix, you're still like, unfortunately, we're still going to see it kind of move until we can kind of get it ripped out in the spring, remove the granulars, regrade, pack, and then kind of get the asphalt and curb in there proper. For the short term, unfortunately, it looks like it is just going to be cold patch. If Mother Nature lets up a little bit and we can, you know, get away from some of the winter events, we can kind of maybe focus on it and see if we can get maybe a load of a hot mix in there. There's no, a lot of the asphalt subcontractors and contractors, they close up shop for the winter, where they send kind of their operators home until the springtime. So it's something we can look into. It's been a nuisance, I agree, since the day it went in. And it's something we're keeping an eye on. But if there's an opportunity where we can make it better with something other than cold patch, I'll do that.
Continue, Councillor. Yeah.
And if I can just follow up, I think because of that large bump is there now and everybody's used to it, I would say over the last month, I've probably had at least 10 or 15, I'm not going to call them complaints, but they just say, gee, once the weather gets done, maybe in the spring or in the summer, I think something that the town should be looking at is, and it's basically almost any road, and that's the manhole covers that have receded down. You can just pass that one on to Jed. Thank you.
Thank you. Through Deputy Mayor Alward, that actually lands back on my plate anyway, but the manhole, there's actually a new product. It's a couple years here, but we're going to be doing some pilots for a new product where it's a two-piece manhole cover where the top piece is supported by the asphalt itself, and so it actually slides up and down inside of itself. So when you do get that heaving, the lid will, or the frame will and lid will come up with it, so you don't get those big drops when we do get this heaving from the frost. So there's a couple spots we're going to do at least 2 or 3 in the spring here, and hopefully that can alleviate at least some of the bumps for some people in the winter.
And I also think that probably Mr. Blake would be happy too, because I'm sure as they get up a little bit, it'll help with the inflow of the moisture getting it, you know.
All right, any further comments or questions? Councillor Lucas?
Thank you to Deputy Mayor. That's a great segue into asphalt and asphalt repairs. I'm just wondering if we've heard anything back from BM Ross regarding our last year's shave and pave contract. I know you're going to be coming to us with this year's shave and pave contract, and I think it would be good for council and for the public just to understand kind of where we stand on that. So I'm just wondering if there's been any headway made there.
Yes, through Deputy Mayor Allward. Thank you, Councillor Lucas. It's sort of top of my list. I'm waiting on, or sorry, I'm not waiting. I've written the tenders already for our asphalt work in 2026. So I'm anxiously anticipating getting that in front of you so that I can kind of get those out. But my goal is to have it to you in February. I've got information here from BM Ross now. So the goal is that second meeting in February for me to present something on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. All right, any further questions for Mr. Wolf? Okay, seeing none, I will seek recommendation that PW01-2026, January monthly report, Public Works report be received. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Craig Miles, second. Councillor Pridham, any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. All right, so I have nothing under emergent or unfinished business. We do have the listed notice of motion from Councillor Luna regarding Bill 21. That will be scheduled for February 10th, 2026 council meeting. So we will discuss that at a later date, but it is written there for your viewing. Under bylaws, I have the recommendation that bylaw Z162-2026 be approved by council. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Pridham, second. Councillor Lucas. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Next, I will seek the... Oh, under upcoming meetings, I will say there is the regular council February 10th, strategic priorities February 17th, regular council February 24th. Is there anything anybody would like to add under upcoming meetings? Councillor Craig Mile?
I believe is it tomorrow night or Thursday night is the zoning bylaw? Tomorrow?
All right, so tomorrow night there's a meeting regarding zoning bylaw. Do you know, is that at the MOC or is it in the end zone?
PRC, I believe.
Mr. Brower, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I did not, I included a lot of things in my monthly report. I did overlook that one. I do apologize. So we're having a zoning bylaw open house. It is tomorrow from, I was going to say 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Municipal Operations Center. It is, there is 2 scheduled presentations, but they have staff on hand to answer any questions and take down any comments that anybody may have. So,
excellent. Thank you for jumping in there. All right, we'll move on to our confirmatory bylaw, wherein the recommendation is that bylaw 06-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this meeting, be approved by council. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Luna, second. Councillor Edney, all in favor? That is carried. And adjournment. So the recommendation that this meeting be adjourned at 7:39 p.m. Somebody willing to move that motion? Councillor Lucas, second. Councillor Pridham, any further discussion? All in favor?